The night sky above Earth had always been peaceful. For thousands of years, humans looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. In the year 2147, they finally got their answer. And it was not the answer they wanted. Commander Jake Harris sat alone in the monitoring station on the dark side of the moon. His coffee had gone cold 3 hours ago. The screens in front of him showed nothing but empty space. It was a quiet night, just like every other night for the past 2 years. Jake was about to close his eyes for a short rest when something changed. A small red dot appeared on the screen. Then another. Then 10 more. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Jake sat up straight. His heart began to beat faster. He typed quickly on his keyboard, trying to understand what he was seeing. The computer gave him an answer that made his blood run cold. Over 10,000 objects were moving toward Earth. They were not asteroids. They were not comets. They were ships. Alien ships. Jake immediately sent a message to Earth. Within minutes, the entire planet was awake. Admiral Lisa Cole was sleeping in her apartment in New York when her phone rang. She answered it and heard the words she had feared her whole career. Aliens had arrived, and they were not coming in peace. Lisa rushed to the United Earth Defense Force headquarters. The building was already full of officers running in every direction. Screens on every wall showed the same terrible image. A massive fleet of alien warships was heading toward Earth. They would arrive in less than 72 hours. The aliens sent their first message 6 hours after they were detected. Every television, every radio, every phone on Earth played the same words at the same time. The voice was cold and mechanical. It said only this: "People of Earth, we are the Dominion. We have conquered 200 worlds. Your world will be next. Surrender now or face complete destruction. You have 48 hours to respond." Panic spread across the planet. People ran through the streets. Governments held emergency meetings. Religious leaders prayed. Scientists tried to find solutions. But everyone knew the truth. Earth had no weapons that could fight such a massive fleet. Humanity was helpless. Admiral Lisa Cole called a meeting of the highest military leaders on Earth. They gathered in a secret room deep underground. The mood was dark and hopeless. Some officers argued for surrender. Others wanted to fight and die with honor. But no one had a real plan. Then an old man walked into the room. His name was General Tom Blake. He was 83 years old and had retired 10 years ago. But when the aliens arrived, the government called him back. Tom Blake was a legend. He had fought in 3 wars and won them all. More importantly, he knew secrets that no one else knew. Tom Blake sat down slowly. Everyone in the room looked at him. He did not look afraid. In fact, he looked almost calm. "I know you are all scared," Tom said. His voice was soft but strong. "I know you think we cannot win. But I am here to tell you that we have been preparing for this moment for 50 years. The room went silent. Lisa Cole leaned forward. "What do you mean, General?" Tom smiled a small smile. 50 years ago, we found something in deep space. A piece of technology left behind by a civilization that died millions of years ago. We have spent decades studying it. And we have built something from it. Something that will save us all. What is it?" asked one of the officers. "It is called Project Veil," Tom answered. "And it is our only hope." Before Tom could explain more, terrible news arrived. The alien fleet had attacked a human mining colony on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. In less than 30 seconds, the aliens had killed 12,000 people. The colony was completely destroyed. There were no survivors. The message was clear. The aliens were not making empty threats. They had the power to destroy Earth in minutes if they wanted. Lisa Cole felt tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. She turned to Tom Blake. "Tell us about Project Veil. Tell us everything." Tom nodded. He stood up and walked to the front of the room. A screen behind him turned on, showing a strange image. It looked like a wall of invisible energy surrounding Earth. "Project Veil is a dimensional barrier," Tom explained. "It creates an invisible border around our planet. Any enemy that crosses this border with the intention to harm us will be trapped. They will be sent to another dimension, a place with no way out, a place where time moves differently. To them, minutes will feel like years. They will grow old and die in that place, alone and forgotten." The officers looked at each other in shock. This was beyond anything they had ever imagined. "Is it real?" Lisa asked. "Does it actually work?" "We have tested it many times," Tom said. "It works, but we have never used it on a real enemy before. This will be the first time." Jake Harris, who had traveled from the moon to attend the meeting, raised his hand. "General, what happens to the people inside the other dimension? Do they suffer?" Tom Blake's smile faded. He looked at Jake with sad eyes. "Yes," he said quietly. "They suffer greatly. That is why we must only use this weapon when there is no other choice. Today, there is no other choice." The room was silent for a long moment. Then Lisa Cole stood up. "Activate Project Veil. Let the aliens come. Let them cross our border." Tom Blake nodded. He picked up a phone and spoke 3 words that would change history forever. "Activate the veil." Somewhere in space, the alien fleet continued its journey toward Earth. They had no idea what was waiting for them. They thought they were coming to conquer another weak planet. They thought victory would be easy. They were wrong. Far away from Earth, in the largest ship of the alien fleet, the leader of the Dominion sat on his throne. Humans would later call him simply the Warlord. He was tall and powerful, with dark skin that looked like metal. His eyes glowed red in the darkness of his command room. He had conquered 200 worlds in his lifetime. Earth would be number 201. The Warlord looked at the screens around him. They showed a small blue planet growing larger as his fleet moved closer. He laughed a cold, cruel laugh. This planet had no visible defenses, no massive space stations, no battle fleets, just a few small ships and some satellites. The humans were like insects waiting to be crushed. "These creatures are even weaker than I expected," the Warlord said to his officers. "We will destroy their cities by morning. Their leaders will beg on their knees, and I will make them watch as their world burns." His officers cheered. They had done this many times before. Every planet they visited had tried to fight. Every planet had failed. Earth would be no different. Back on Earth, the mood was very different. In the secret underground base, Dr. Emma Ward was working faster than she had ever worked before. Emma was the lead scientist behind Project Veil. She was only 40 years old, but she had been working on this technology since she was 22. She knew every part of the system. She knew exactly what it could do. General Tom Blake stood beside her. He watched the screens that showed the alien fleet getting closer. "How much time do we have?" he asked. "They will reach the border in 6 hours," Emma said. "The veil is fully charged. Everything is ready." Jake Harris was also in the room. He had been thinking about the aliens ever since Tom Blake explained Project Veil. He understood why the weapon was necessary, but something about it felt wrong to him. "Dr. Ward," he said, "can you explain exactly what will happen to them?" Emma stopped working and looked at Jake. She could see the worry in his eyes. She decided to be honest with him. "When the aliens cross the border," she began, "the veil will detect their hostile intentions. It reads brainwaves, emotions, and body chemistry. If a ship crosses with peaceful intentions, nothing happens. But if a ship crosses with the intention to kill or conquer, the veil activates. And then? Jake asked. Then the ship is instantly moved to a pocket dimension. It is like a bubble universe, completely separate from our reality. There is nothing inside except empty space. No stars, no planets, no way out. The beings inside will have air and basic resources that come from their own ships. But eventually, those resources will run out. How long will they survive? Emma looked down. That depends. Time moves much slower inside the pocket dimension. What feels like one day to them is only a few seconds for us. Some of them might survive for what feels like hundreds of years before they finally die. Jake felt sick. He understood now why Tom Blake had looked so sad earlier. Project Veil was not just a weapon. It was a prison. A terrible, eternal prison. Is there any other way? Jake asked. Tom Blake put his hand on Jake's shoulder. I asked the same question 50 years ago, son. I have asked it every day since. But the answer is always the same. If we do not use the veil, billions of humans will die. The Dominion will not show us mercy. They never show mercy to anyone. Jake nodded slowly. He did not like it, but he accepted it. Sometimes survival required terrible choices. The hours passed quickly. The alien fleet crossed the orbit of Mars, then Jupiter, then Saturn. With each passing hour, they got closer to the invisible border around Earth. The warlord sent another message to the humans, demanding their surrender. He received no response. This made him angry. They are foolish, he growled. They could have saved themselves by bowing to me. Now they will all die screaming. The fleet increased its speed. The warlord wanted to reach Earth as quickly as possible. He wanted to see the fear in the humans' eyes. On Earth, everyone watched and waited. The world had stopped. No one went to work. No one went to school. Families gathered together in their homes, holding each other and praying. They did not know about Project Veil. They thought they were about to die. Only a small group of people knew the truth. And they watched the screens in silence, holding their breath. They are approaching the border, Emma Ward announced. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. Contact in 30 seconds. Tom Blake closed his eyes. May God forgive us for what we are about to do. On the screens, the first alien ships crossed the invisible line. For a moment, nothing happened. The ships kept moving forward. Jake Harris felt his heart stop. Had the veil failed? Then, one by one, the ships began to disappear. They did not explode. They did not change direction. They simply vanished, as if someone had erased them from existence. First 10 ships, then 100, then 1,000. The warlord's fleet was disappearing like smoke in the wind. On the command ship, the warlord watched in horror as his fleet vanished around him. Ships that had been beside him for decades were gone in seconds. His officers screamed in confusion and fear. No one understood what was happening. What is this? The warlord shouted. What are they doing to us? Before anyone could answer, his ship crossed the border. The universe around him twisted and changed. For one terrible moment, the warlord saw something he had never seen before. A wall of nothing. An endless void without stars, without light, without hope. Then his ship was gone. On Earth, the screens went silent. Every single alien ship had vanished. 10,000 warships, the greatest invasion fleet in the history of the galaxy, had disappeared in less than 3 minutes. Not a single shot had been fired. Not a single human had died. Jake Harris stared at the empty screens. He could not believe what he had just seen. They are all gone, he whispered. Every single one. Emma Ward nodded. Tears were running down her face, but she did not know if they were tears of relief or tears of guilt. Maybe both. Tom Blake picked up a communication device. His hands were trembling. "This is General Blake," he said. "Broadcast to all nations. The threat has been neutralized. Earth is safe." Across the planet, people heard the news and began to cheer. Strangers hugged each other in the streets. Children laughed and danced. The nightmare was over, but in that underground room, there was no celebration. Only silence. Because the people there knew the truth. 10,000 ships full of living beings had just been sent to a fate worse than death. And they would spend eternity in that dark place, alone, forgotten, and wondering what had happened to them. Jake Harris looked at the empty screens one last time. "What have we done?" he asked quietly. No one answered him, because no one knew. 3 months passed since the alien fleet disappeared. The world had changed in many ways. Humans now knew they were not alone in the universe. They knew that other civilizations existed among the stars. And they knew that some of those civilizations were dangerous. The governments of Earth decided to hide the truth about Project Veil. They told the public that a new weapon had destroyed the alien fleet. They did not explain what kind of weapon or what it had really done. Most people did not ask questions. They were just happy to be alive. Jake Harris was promoted to Vice Admiral. He was called a hero by people who did not know the truth. Newspapers wrote stories about him. Children drew pictures of him. But Jake did not feel like a hero. Every night, he had the same dream. He saw the alien ships vanishing one by one. He saw the darkness of the pocket dimension. And he woke up covered in sweat, asking himself the same question. What have we done? General Tom Blake grew weaker with each passing day. The doctor said it was cancer, something too advanced to cure. He spent most of his time in a hospital bed, looking out the window at the sky. Sometimes Jake visited him. They would sit together in silence, two men who shared a terrible secret. "Do you think they are still alive in there?" Jake asked one day. Tom closed his eyes. "The veil does not kill quickly. It just traps. Yes, they are alive. And to them, many years have already passed." "How many years?" Tom did a quick calculation in his head. "For us, 3 months have passed. For them, it has been about 300 years. Jake felt the weight of those words crushing his chest. 300 years. The aliens who had tried to invade Earth had been trapped for 300 years already. Generations could have been born and died in that dark place. A few days later, Dr. Emma Ward called Jake to her laboratory. She looked tired and worried. Dark circles surrounded her eyes. It was clear she had not been sleeping well. "I need to show you something," she said. "Something I discovered last week. I have not told anyone else." She led Jake to a room full of strange machines. In the center was a large screen showing lines of data that Jake did not understand. Emma typed something on a keyboard, and the screen changed. Now it showed sound waves. "I have been monitoring the pocket dimension," Emma explained. "I wanted to know if the veil was stable. That is when I found these signals." She pressed a button, and a sound filled the room. It was distorted and broken, like a radio station with bad reception. But underneath the static, Jake could hear voices. Alien voices. They were speaking words he could not understand, but the emotions were clear. Pain, fear, desperation, hope. "They are trying to communicate with us," Emma said. "These are messages from inside the veil." Jake listened carefully. The voices were haunting. Some sounded angry. Some sounded sad. Some sounded like they were praying. He heard what might have been children crying. The sounds made his heart ache. "Can we translate what they are saying?" he asked. Emma nodded. She pressed another button, and words appeared on the screen. They were translations of the alien messages. The first message said, "Why have you done this to us? What crime did we commit to deserve this punishment? Please, show mercy." The second message said, 300 years have passed. Our leaders are dead. Our soldiers are dead. Only the children remain. We are not your enemies anymore. We do not even remember the war. The third message said, we pray to the gods every day. We pray that the sky will open again and release us from this prison. But the sky never opens. The gods never answer. Jake could not read anymore. He turned away from the screen, his hands shaking. 300 years, he whispered. The original invaders are all dead. The people in there now are their children and grandchildren. They are innocent. Emma nodded sadly. That is what I have been thinking about every night. The people we trapped were enemies, but their descendants did nothing wrong. They are victims. Jake thought about this for a long time. Then he asked, is there any way to open the veil? Any way to let them out? Emma looked at him with fear in her eyes. There might be a way, but it would be very dangerous, and I do not think anyone would allow it. Before Jake could respond, his phone rang. It was a message from headquarters. Something had happened. Something big. Jake rushed to the command center. The room was full of officers looking at the screens with worried faces. Admiral Lisa Cole stood at the center, giving orders quickly. What is happening? Jake asked. Lisa pointed at the screen. Jake looked and felt his blood turn cold. A new signal was coming from deep space. Another fleet was approaching Earth, but this fleet was different. It was much larger than the Dominion fleet had been, and it was not sending threats. It was sending a question. The message was translated and displayed on the screen. It said, People of Earth, we are the Galactic Concord, a council of peaceful civilizations. 3 months ago, the Dominion fleet entered your solar system. We detected their invasion. We were preparing to send help. But then the fleet vanished. All 10,000 ships disappeared in an instant. We have searched for them, but we cannot find them anywhere in this dimension. We are coming to your world peacefully to ask one simple question. What did you do to them? The room was silent. Everyone looked at each other with fear. The secret they had tried so hard to hide was about to be revealed. The galaxy wanted answers, and Earth would have to give them. Jake looked at the message on the screen. He thought about the voices from the pocket dimension. He thought about the innocent children trapped in that dark place. And he made a decision. Whatever happened next, he would not hide from the truth anymore. We need to tell them everything, Jake said quietly. We need to show them what we did. Lisa Cole looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. You are right. We cannot hide this forever. The universe deserves to know. She picked up a communication device and began to prepare a response. The truth was about to come out, and Jake did not know if Earth would be seen as heroes or monsters. Maybe both. The Galactic Concord fleet arrived 3 weeks after sending their message. Unlike the Dominion, they did not threaten Earth. They asked for permission to enter the solar system. They asked for permission to send a representative. They behaved with respect and patience. This was more frightening to Jake than any weapon could be. Monsters were easy to fight. Reasonable people were harder. The representative arrived on a small silver ship. Humans called this being the Arbiter. He was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. His eyes were large and kind. He wore simple white robes with no symbols or decorations. When he spoke, his voice was calm and soft. Admiral Lisa Cole met him at the landing site. Jake Harris stood beside her. Thousands of soldiers surrounded the area, but the Arbiter did not seem worried. He walked toward Lisa with open hands, showing he meant no harm. Thank you for allowing me to visit your world, the Arbiter said. I know you must be afraid. I want you to know that the Concord has not come to fight. We have only come to understand. Lisa nodded stiffly. We will tell you everything. But first, I want to know something. What was your relationship with the Dominion?" The Arbiter's expression became sad. The Dominion was a cancer in our galaxy. They conquered and destroyed without mercy. We had been preparing for war against them. A war that would have cost billions of lives across many worlds. Your people ended that threat in a single moment. For that, many in the Concord are grateful. But, Jake asked. The Arbiter looked at him with knowing eyes. But the method disturbs us. 10,000 ships with millions of beings vanished without a trace. That is not normal. That is not natural. We need to know what you did. And we need to know if you will do it again. Lisa and Jake looked at each other. They had discussed this moment many times. They knew what they had to do. Lisa led the Arbiter to the underground base where Project Veil was controlled. Dr. Emma Ward was waiting there. She looked nervous, but her voice was steady as she explained everything. She showed the Arbiter the technology they had found in deep space. She explained how the Veil worked. She told him about the pocket dimension. The Arbiter listened without interrupting. When Emma finished, he was silent for a long time. Then he spoke. "You have created a prison without end. A place where beings suffer forever. Do you understand what you have done?" "We had no choice," Emma said. "They would have destroyed our world." "I am not judging you," the Arbiter replied. "The Dominion earned their fate. But I need you to see something. I need you to understand what is happening inside your prison." He pressed a device on his wrist. The screens in the room changed. They now showed images from inside the pocket dimension. Jake had seen data and heard voices before, but he had never seen pictures. What he saw broke his heart. The original Dominion warships were floating in empty space, broken and old. Hundreds of years had passed for the people inside. The warriors who had invaded Earth were long dead. Their children were dead too. Now only their grandchildren and great-grandchildren remained. These new generations had built small shelters from the wreckage of their ships. They had created farms inside cargo holds. They had developed a simple society, but they were suffering. Resources were running low. People were thin and sick. Children played in dark hallways, lit by dying lights. They had never seen a star. They had never seen a planet. The sky above them was always empty, always black, always hopeless. "These are not soldiers," the Arbiter said. "These are victims. They were born in that darkness. They know nothing of war or conquest. They only know the prison you created for their ancestors." Jake felt tears in his eyes. He had always known this was happening, but seeing it made everything real. Innocent children were suffering because of a decision made before they were born. Is there any way to help them? Jake asked. Emma stepped forward. "I have been working on something. A way to open the veil for a short time. A window that would allow someone to enter the pocket dimension. But it would be very dangerous. And it would only work once. The technology we used is ancient. Every time we use it, it becomes weaker." Jake did not hesitate. "I will go." Everyone looked at him in shock. Lisa grabbed his arm. "Jake, no. It is too risky. You might never come back." "I have to," Jake said. "I helped create this nightmare. I watched those ships disappear. Every night, I dream about it. I need to see what we did. I need to talk to those people. I need to tell them we are sorry." The Arbiter studied Jake carefully. After a moment, he nodded. "Your courage is impressive. The Concord will support this mission. If you can bring peace to those people, it will show the galaxy that humans are more than killers." Emma worked for 2 weeks to prepare the window. During that time, Jake prepared himself for the journey. He recorded messages for his family. He wrote letters to his friends. He did not know if he would ever see them again. General Tom Blake died on the day before Jake's mission. His last words were for Jake. He said, "Do not let guilt destroy you, son. We did what we had to do. But now you have a chance to fix it. Take that chance. Be better than we were." Jake carried those words with him as he stepped into the machine that would send him to the pocket dimension. Emma pressed the buttons. Lights surrounded Jake. He felt himself being pulled in 1,000 directions at once. Then everything went dark. When Jake opened his eyes, he was floating in empty space. Before him were the broken ships of the Dominion fleet. They looked ancient and sad, like the bones of a dead creature. Far in the distance, he could see lights. People were living there in that darkness, waiting for a salvation they did not believe would ever come. Jake activated his suit's thrusters and flew toward the lights. He did not know what he would find. He did not know if the people inside would welcome him or hate him. But he had to try. He had to make things right. Jake flew through the darkness for what felt like hours. The broken ships grew larger as he approached. He could see now how the survivors had connected several ships together with bridges made of metal scraps. Lights glowed from windows. Smoke rose from chimneys built into the hulls. It looked like a small floating city in the middle of nothing. As Jake got closer, alarms began to sound. Figures appeared at the windows, pointing at him. He raised his hands to show he meant no harm. But he knew they had every reason to fear him. He was from the world that had put them here. He landed on a platform outside what looked like a main entrance. Within seconds, he was surrounded by guards. They looked different from the warriors who had invaded Earth so long ago. They were thinner, weaker. Their weapons were old and rusty. Their eyes were filled with fear and wonder. One of the guards spoke. Jake's suit translated the words. "Who are you? Where did you come from? Are you from outside?" "Yes," Jake answered. "I am from Earth. I came to talk." The guards looked at each other in shock. No one had come from outside in over 400 years. Some of them started to cry. Others fell to their knees. The word spread quickly through the floating city. Someone had finally arrived from the sky. They brought Jake to their leader. Her name was Hope. She was young, no older than 25. She'd have been chosen to lead because of her kindness and wisdom. When she looked at Jake, her eyes were calm, but he could see pain behind them. "You are from the world that trapped us," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," Jake replied. "And I am sorry. I am so sorry for what we did to your ancestors. I am sorry for what we did to you." Hope was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "My grandmother told me stories about the old times. She said our people were warriors. She said we traveled the stars and conquered many worlds. She said we were powerful and proud." She paused. "But I have never seen a star. I have never felt sunlight. I was born in this darkness, and I thought I would die in it." Jake felt his heart breaking. "You did nothing wrong. None of you did. The people who invaded Earth are long dead. But you are still paying for their mistakes. Is that why you came?" Hope asked. "To tell us you are sorry?" Jake shook his head. "I came to take you home. All of you. If you want to leave." Hope's eyes widened. For the first time, Jake saw hope appear on her face. Real hope. Is that possible? "Maybe," Jake said. "There is a window between our dimensions. It is weak and growing weaker. But if we act fast, we might be able to bring everyone through." The news spread through the city like fire. People gathered in the main hall. Thousands of them. They looked at Jake with eyes full of fear and hope. He was a stranger from the world that had cursed them. But he was also their only chance at freedom. Jake spent what felt like a year living among them. He learned their language. He ate their food. He played with their children. He heard their stories. They were not monsters. They were just people. People who wanted to see the stars, but time was running out. Every day, the window between dimensions grew smaller. Emma Ward sent Jake messages telling him to hurry. If he did not return soon, the window would close forever. Jake faced an impossible choice. The window was only big enough to bring everyone through once. After that, the ancient technology would burn out completely. Earth would lose Project Veil forever. They would have no defense against future invasions. He contacted Admiral Lisa Cole and explained the situation. She was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Jake, if we lose the veil, we lose everything. We will be helpless." "I know," Jake said, "but these people are innocent. We cannot leave them here to die." Lisa thought about this. She thought about the galaxy watching them. She thought about the Arbiter and the Galactic Concord. She thought about what kind of people humans wanted to be. Finally, she made her decision. "Bring them home, Jake. All of them." Jake gathered the survivors. There were over 40,000 of them. Men, women, children, elderly. They lined up in the main hall, holding each other's hands. Many of them were crying. Others were praying. For the first time in 400 years, they had hope. The window opened. Light poured into the darkness. The survivors shielded their eyes. They had never seen light so bright. Jake led them forward, one group at a time. The children went first. Then the families. Then the elderly. Finally, only Jake and Hope remained. Hope looked back at the broken ships that had been her home. "I will never forget this place," she said. "It taught me what suffering means. And it taught me what hope means too." Jake took her hand. "Come, a new life is waiting." They stepped through together. On Earth, the survivors emerged into sunlight. Many of them fell to their knees, touching the grass and crying. They had never felt ground beneath their feet. They had never smelled flowers. They had never seen a blue sky. Behind them, the window closed. The light faded. Project Veil was gone forever. The Arbiter watched everything with a small smile. He turned to Lisa Cole. "You have done something remarkable," he said. "You had the power to keep your greatest weapon. Instead, you chose mercy. The Concord has decided. Earth will be given a seat on our council. Not because you are strong, but because you showed you can grow." Lisa bowed her head. "Thank you." Years passed. The survivors built a new life on Earth. They learned to live side by side with humans. Hope became an ambassador between species. She traveled to other worlds, telling her story. She became a symbol of forgiveness and healing. Jake Harris stood at a memorial built where Project Veil once existed. It was a simple stone with words carved on it. Here we learned that true power is not in destroying enemies, but in choosing to stop. Hope stood beside him. Children played nearby. They were children of both species, humans and survivors, growing up together without hatred or fear. A young boy ran up to Jake. "Is it true?" The boy asked. "Did our grandparents really try to kill each other?" Jake looked at the sky. The same sky that had once swallowed an entire fleet. The same sky that had once seemed so dark and hopeless. "They tried," he said. "But your parents chose something different. They chose to be better. And that is the only story that matters now." The boy smiled and ran off to play with his friends. Jake watched him go. And for the first time in many years, he felt at peace.